If you're in midlife, maybe you're in your 40s or you're in your 50s and you're thinking about making a change to your career, there's something that's probably nagging away at you. You might be thinking that you're starting over, that you're competing with people half your age, and that you don't know anything about the career that you're hoping to go into. I want you to think about this differently. You think you're at zero, you think you're at the beginning, but you're absolutely not. You're at maybe 20 or 30 years of experience. That's 20 or 30 years of making decisions under pressure. Relationships built, relationships lost, and relationships rebuilt again. You've experienced things that went wrong at work and you found a way through. Your problem isn't that you don't have any experience. Your problem is that you can't see all the experience that you're carrying. And that's what today's video is about. My name's Lucy and I've got over 30 years of workplace experience, and I try to share the good and the bad with you so you can build a fulfilling career. I work with lots of people who are exactly where you are. People who are at crossroads, experienced, capable people, but they're doubting themselves because they're making a change. And if that's where you are, then stay with me. We have this cultural story about career change, which goes something like this. You leave one thing, you wipe the slate clean, and you move on to the next thing. Fresh and clean and new. You begin again. And I can see why people think of it like that. There's something very appealing about the idea of a blank sheet of paper, a fresh start, a rebirth. But whilst it's appealing, it's also completely wrong. And I think it does quite a lot of harm. Because when you frame career change as starting over, you're also possibly framing it as starting fresh, starting with nothing. It's implying that everything that you've done up to this point is irrelevant. The skills that you've learned, the people that you've worked with, the transitions you've made, the changes you've implemented, it's as if all of those have disappeared and now you're starting all over again. But that's not a fresh start, that's like an erasure of everything that's gone before. And of course, there are plenty of things that don't travel with you on to the next thing. So your title, your business card, your organisational knowledge doesn't come with you. The internal shorthand that you've built with colleagues doesn't come with you either. So it's really easy to look at yourself from the outside and think that you've got nothing, but you're looking at the wrong things. So let's look at this a bit differently. I can think of at least 5 things that 30 years of work experience gives you that you wouldn't have had when you were 25. The first one is pattern recognition. So you will have had experiences in your previous jobs that will come up again in future jobs, and you'll recognise the signs, you'll recognise the patterns. You've seen things before. You probably will realise when things are going wrong before anybody else in the room does. You've been in that meeting where something felt off and it turned out that you were right. That instinct isn't just luck, it's an accumulation of data. The second thing you'll have developed over your years is emotional intelligence. Now that might sound like a bit of a buzzword, but really what that is the ability to kind of read the room, sense what's going on, have some way of interpreting emotions around you. That knowledge will help you know when to push, when to hold back. It'll help you hold on to difficult conversations until a point when they're appropriate to have. That takes years of experience and probably a fair amount of experience of getting it wrong before you can get it right. The third thing is credibility. Over those years, people will have trusted you with things, with knowledge that is important, that is personal, that is confidential, and they'll have trusted you with that knowledge. That credibility is real and it's portable. It comes with you, even though it might not feel like it. The fourth thing I was thinking about was networks. You know people, you've built relationships with all the people you've worked with over the years, and people know you too. Not just formally, not just random LinkedIn connections, but people that you've worked with day in, day out, through rough times and good times. People who've seen your work, people who'll pick up the phone when you ring them. That's really something, and it is also portable. And the fifth thing I want to talk about is resilience. You've worked through things in your 30 years that when you were 25, you would have not known how to navigate. In fact, you would have probably thought that you wouldn't be able to navigate them. But if you look back, You can probably pick on some examples of the kinds of things that I mean. You've got through those things and you're still here, you're still standing and you're still going forward. And it's another thing that transfers with you and that you will have with you until you retire. None of these things are abstract, and all of them will transfer with you to the next job and the one after that and the one after that as well. When I was thinking about this video, I was thinking about the coaching clients that I have, and there was one conversation in particular I had recently where what I realised was that the transferable skills that that any of us have are kind of the most invisible to us. So we sort of almost take them for granted and discount them. Because you've had these capabilities for so long, they just feel like they're part of you. They don't feel like a skill. They're the way that you naturally approach things, the way you've always worked. And that's a problem, because when a skill becomes instinctive, then it doesn't feel like a skill anymore and it feels invisible. It feels ordinary and it feels like everybody can probably do this thing. But they can't. So this coaching conversation I was having recently, it was with a client who was the chief executive of a small charity, and she was moving to a role in a much bigger organisation, and it was a director level role, so it wasn't a chief executive role. And she was convinced that her skills were out of date, because the last time she had done a role that was similar was the one before the one that she's moving from. And she was saying, everything will have moved on. People will know much more about communications and marketing than I do. They'll know the modern approaches and so on that I haven't got experience of. And she had convinced herself that she was bringing limited transferable skills to this new role. What I could see was that she not only had been doing this recent role as a chief executive, but alongside that, she was an elected local councillor in her area. So she'd built up a whole parallel career of experience alongside a very busy and important day job. And she was bringing all of that to the new role, plus everything that she'd ever done in her career before. She had real, genuine experience of public accountability, of navigating policy, of making and standing by difficult decisions, representing people in her local area, and genuinely standing up to be counted. All of those are skills that most organisations would be absolutely delighted to have in their senior team. But it was extraordinary that she couldn't see any of that. All she could see was the things that she was worried about that would be in the team that she was going to, and she wouldn't be able to keep up. She couldn't see any of that. And I'm not really sure why, but perhaps because it was work that she was doing alongside her day job, so it didn't translate onto her CV in a conventional way. It was part of who she was. So in a way, she was taking it all for granted. And I see this all the time. It's the most capable people who are often the least able to see what they are and what they bring. So I wanted to bring you a practical exercise in today's video, because if you're grappling with this, maybe you need something to do as a different way to reframe what you're thinking about. And you can do this today. So take a pen and paper, shut off some distractions, and sit down and write down the 10 most difficult things that you've navigated in your career. Not your greatest achievements, not your biggest moments, but the most difficult things. And it could be that they're quite hard to retrieve, because sometimes we gloss over the difficult things as time goes on. Think about the situations that stretched you. Think about where there were barriers in your way and you had to find a way either around the barrier or through the barrier. Maybe you had to make a judgment with incomplete information. Maybe you managed to hold something together that could so easily have fallen apart. Write them down, all 10 of them. And then for each of them, ask yourself, what attributes and information and skills did I have to draw upon to get through that situation? You'll probably start to see a pattern, and that pattern is what you actually and genuinely bring to your future role. And it's probably not what your CV says, but it is what you actually are. It's your real CV, and that goes with you everywhere. Midlife career change is not starting over. That's the wrong way to think about it. You are better equipped than you think for whatever new role comes your way. The trick is learning to see it and learning to talk about it and believe it. I hope you found this a helpful reframe. If anyone else you know is going through something similar right now, convinced they've got nothing to offer for their next role, then maybe they'd like to watch it too. They've almost certainly got more than they know, and I can testify to that from every single coaching conversation like this that I have with clients. There's a lot more on this channel about navigating career change and difficult workplaces and moving ahead positively into fulfilling careers. So do subscribe if you want to hear more from me. I publish a new video every week, but I've got a current strand on midlife career change. So do follow along for this series, and I'll link to the playlist below in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'm really glad that you found the channel. See you next week.